In one of my previous videos, I talked about this table which, to my understanding, describes all of the ways you can use strings in Rust. In the same video, I have also mentioned, very briefly, I would guess, the Unicode table, which is essentially a table of pretty much, I would say, or I would think, all of the characters that can be understood by computers, and not only the characters but also their byte representation. And what I highlighted in the previous video was that certain characters are not allowed in certain types of strings. For instance, this character, which is non-ASCII, isn't allowed to be used in a byte string because the byte string only requires ASCII characters. And so my question, or one question that I had in the previous video, was how can I check how many bytes this character contains? Of course, it depends, I would guess, or I think it doesn't depend on the encoding system, because regardless if the system use is UTF-8 or UTF-16, then the same number of bytes will be needed for this character. But anyway, I think that was an interesting topic, and it's also a nice way to show you my learning process, because simply I don't know exactly how to do that. Of course, I can place this into an AI chat and give me the answer, but when I know I'm not under the pressure of time or any other kind of pressure, I like to try the hard things first, because most of the times, if not always, there are some important learnings to be gained from there. And the first instinct that I would want to do is to use something that I recall as text encoder in JavaScript, or text encoder and text decoder. And since I have this one, I'm trying to type this from my mind, because it's also a nice memory exercise. I think it's text decoder, which accepts nothing, and you can call a method on it, decode, which accepts an input. And if I give this one, I'm getting an error because okay, so I think I should encode it first. Text encoder should be new text encoder, and then if I encode this, and then my expectation, without reading the documentation, is for it to provide me an array, a byte array with its representation. And I think I'm right. So it seems that there are 3 bytes in the composition of this character, which also, by the way, which I've also highlighted in the previous video, it's also the reason that you cannot simply let's say you cannot simply do that, because by accessing 0 you would essentially access only the first byte, but it's incomplete. Let me also zoom in a little. So now there is another question that I would like to talk about in a different video, is how you can deal with such situation, how you can access the first character if its composition implies more than 1 byte. Anyway, so the topic of this video was mainly to show you my thinking process, which is, first of all, to try to apply my previous knowledge. So in my situation, I was aware of some browser API or some JavaScript APIs, which are text encoder or text decoder, which could be used for some things like this, but I didn't know, but I wasn't very sure of the syntax. And what I did first was to try to access my memory, my actual memory, my logical memory, if that's correct, I would guess, to see if I'm wrong or right. Now, because I did that, I would expect the next time to have these concepts much more clear in my mind, because I made some cognitive effort in order to access this knowledge that I once learned. This very simple approach will be to open Perplexity and try to give it a prompt like how many, if I can also type, how many bytes are in the character, and I guess the answer should be, yeah, that 3 bytes, which also touches a bit on what I've said initially about the encoding system. So representing using multiple bytes. Okay, so 3 bytes in UTF-8 and 3 bytes in UTF-8, it would be 6. Okay, takes 4 bytes. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it seems that I have some lacks, some gaps in my knowledge regarding the UTF, the encoding systems. But anyway, I think those are nice topics to explore in different videos. For this video, that was all. I just wanted to show you my way of thinking, of exploring, of learning. Because yeah, even from a chat with an AI, you can also learn what you don't know yet, which translates into more learning opportunities. Okay, this was it for this video. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.